It often starts with just two simple words. What if? What if I fail that presentation at work? What if they're still upset with me about what I said at our family dinner last night? What if I'm not making the right choice about moving to a new city? And soon, that one question multiplies into 100 different scenarios, each one more worrying than the last. Your mind becomes a maze of anxieties about a future that hasn't even happened yet. If that sounds familiar, I want you to know you're not alone, and there's a way back to the present moment. Today, we'll explore 3 simple, practical steps to help you calm your mind. That feeling of being stuck in your own head, it's exhausting, isn't it? It's like having a radio on in the background that you just can't seem to turn off. It plays the same static of worries, regrets, and doubts over and over again. You could be driving to work, stuck in that familiar morning commute on the freeway, and your mind is already jumping ahead, rehearsing a difficult conversation. Or you're trying to enjoy a simple cup of coffee at your favorite local shop, but your thoughts are busy replaying a mistake from last week. This cycle, this state of analysis paralysis, doesn't just steal your peace. It drains your energy, kills your creativity, and stops you from taking action. But here's the most important thing I want you to hear today. Overthinking is not a personal flaw. It's not a sign that you're broken. In fact, it's a sign that your brain is just trying to do its job. It's just gone into overdrive. You see, our brains are wired for survival. Deep inside, there's an ancient threat detection system in a part of the brain called the amygdala that's always on the lookout for danger. Think of it like a highly sensitive smoke detector. Its job is to protect you. But sometimes that smoke detector gets a little too sensitive. It starts going off not just for a real fire, but for a piece of burnt toast, or even just the thought of burnt toast. And that's what overthinking is. It's your brain's protective freeze response trying to solve a problem that either doesn't exist yet or simply can't be solved by thinking alone. It floods your system with stress hormones like cortisol, which, as studies show, clouds our ability to think clearly and deliberately. So the first step toward finding calm is to stop blaming yourself for the alarm going off. Instead, we're going to learn to gently acknowledge it and then show our brain that we're safe. We're going to learn how to turn down the volume on that internal radio. We're not going to fight our thoughts. We're going to change our relationship with them. So take a deep breath and let's begin. Our first step is maybe the most profound, and it begins with a simple act of awareness. It's a practice from therapies like acceptance and commitment therapy, and it's called cognitive defusion. Now, that's just a scientific way of saying we're going to learn how to create a little bit of space between you and your thoughts. Think about it this way. When you're fused with a thought like, I'm a failure, you experience it as a literal truth. It feels as real and solid as the chair you're sitting on. There's no space for anything else. But what if you could see that thought not as a fact, but as a temporary mental event, like a cloud passing in the sky, or a leaf floating down a stream? It's there, you can see it, but it isn't you. So this is the practice. The moment you catch yourself in that spiral of worry, you gently pause and name the story. Let's say you're about to give that big presentation at work. Your heart is racing and your mind is screaming, "You're gonna mess this up. Everyone will think you're an idiot." Instead of getting swept away by that storm, you can take a quiet breath and say to yourself, there it is. That's the "I'm going to fail the presentation" story. See the shift? By labeling it ill, you're simply acknowledging the thought as a thought.
This simple shift moves you from being the main character in the drama to being the audience member watching it. This act is incredibly powerful. Neurologically, when you label your thoughts and emotions, you're activating your prefrontal cortex, that thoughtful, rational CEO of your brain. And this part of your brain then helps to regulate the amygdala, that overactive smoke detector we talked about. You're literally calming your brain's alarm system with a simple sentence. Let's try another example. You're waiting for a text back from someone you just started dating. Hours go by, the overthinking starts. They must not be interested. I said something weird. This is never going to work out. The practice is to gently step in and say, I'm noticing my mind is telling me the "they're not interested" story. This isn't about pretending you don't feel anxious. It's about holding that anxiety a little more loosely. It creates just enough space for you to breathe again. So for the next few days, I invite you to become a gentle observer of your own mind. When the overthinking starts, just notice, and then softly and without judgment, just name the story.
So once you've named the story, you've created a little bit of distance. Now we need somewhere to put our attention. Because overthinking, it only lives in two places: the past, which is filled with regret, or the future, which is filled with worry and what-ifs. The one place it just can't survive is the present moment. Our second step, then, is to gently bring ourselves back to the here and now. And we do this by anchoring yourself in the present using your senses. Your senses are your direct connection to reality, right now. You can't see 5 minutes from now. You can't hear yesterday. Your senses only work in the present, and that makes them the most powerful tool you have to interrupt the cycle of overthinking. One of the most effective ways to do this is a grounding technique called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. You can do this anywhere, anytime, and no one ever has to know you're doing it. Imagine you're in a crowded grocery store. The lights are bright, the noise is overwhelming, and your mind starts to race about your to-do list, your finances, everything. You feel that familiar wave of anxiety building. Right there, in the middle of the aisle, you can pause. First, just silently name 5 things you can see. It doesn't have to be profound. Just notice them. The blue label on a cereal box, the scuff mark on the floor, the way the light reflects off a shopping cart, the deep green of the broccoli, the red sweater on the person ahead of you. Next, bring your awareness to 4 things you can feel. The cold middle handle of the shopping cart under your hand, the texture of your jeans against your skin, the gentle hum of the refrigerator on your arm, the solid feeling of your shoes on the ground. Now, listen. Name 3 things you can hear. Maybe the distant beep of a checkout scanner, the faint squeak of a wheel on a nearby cart, the low murmur of conversations around you. Then, notice 2 things you can smell. Maybe the scent of fresh bread from the bakery, or the faint, clean smell of the floor cleaner. And finally, bring your awareness to 1 thing you can taste. Maybe it's the lingering taste of the coffee you had this morning, or just the neutral taste of your own mouth. Take a breath. You're here, now. What this practice does is amazing. It gently pulls your brain out of that abstract world of worry and plants it firmly in the reality of the present moment. It helps to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, your body's natural brakes, which tells your overactive alarm system that there's no immediate threat. It calms the storm by showing your brain that right here, right now, you are okay. So, we've learned how to create distance from our thoughts, and we've learned how to anchor ourselves in the present. But there's a third piece to this puzzle, and it's the ultimate antidote to that freeze of analysis paralysis. Our third step is to take one small, imperfect action. You see, overthinking thrives on inaction. The more we stand still, the more our mind spins, trying to calculate every possible outcome. We get trapped, believing we need to have the perfect plan before we can move. But the truth is, clarity doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing. Action, no matter how small, is a signal to your brain that you are in control. It breaks that loop of helplessness. And the key here is the word small. We're not talking about solving the entire problem at once. We're just looking for the very next step, the smallest possible unit of progress. Let's say you're a painter, and you've been staring at a blank canvas for a week, paralyzed by the thought, what if I mess it up? What if I'm not inspired? The overthinking has you completely stuck. The one small action isn't to paint a masterpiece. It's to pick up one brush. That's it. Or to squeeze one color of paint on your palette. That's the action. It's so small, it feels almost ridiculous, but that's why it works. It bypasses your brain's fear response. Or maybe you've been overthinking your health, telling yourself you need to start a whole new diet and workout routine. It feels so overwhelming that you do nothing. The one small action is to put on your running shoes. Just that. Or to drink one glass of water. This is a concept from therapy called behavioral activation, and it's based on the idea that action can change our mood and thoughts, rather than waiting for our mood and thoughts to change before we can act. When you act, your brain can release dopamine, a neurotransmitter tied to motivation and reward. You're biologically teaching your brain that moving forward feels good. So I'll ask you, what is one thing you've been overthinking? You don't need to have the whole conversation. Just send the text that says, hey, can we talk later? You don't need to clean the whole house. Just put one dish in the dishwasher. You don't need to write the whole book. Just open a new document and write a title. Forget perfection. Embrace the smallest step. Because, as psychologist Dr. Susan David puts it,
So, let's bring it all home. The path to a calmer mind isn't about waging a war against your thoughts. It's about becoming a kinder, wiser guide for your own mind. The 3 steps we talked about today are your tools for that journey. First, when you find yourself lost in the storm, name the story. See your thoughts for what they are, temporary mental events, not facts. Second, when your mind is spinning into the past or the future, gently anchor yourself in the present, using your senses. Come back home to your body and to your breath. And third, when you feel frozen by indecision, take one small, imperfect action. Break the cycle with the smallest step forward you can imagine. This is a practice. It's not a one-time fix. There will be days when it feels easy and days when your mind feels as noisy as ever. And that's okay. The goal isn't to achieve a perfectly silent mind. The goal is progress, not perfection. It's about learning how to turn down the volume gently so you can hear the quieter, wiser voice that's always been there, underneath the noise. You have the capacity to find peace right here, in the middle of your life, just as it is. So, I have a small invitation for you. This week, maybe just focus on that first step. Just practice noticing and naming your stories. That's it. and see what changes. And I'd love to hear from you. In the comments below, I'm curious, which of these 3 steps resonates with you the most right now? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. If you found some value in our time together, I'd be so grateful if you'd consider liking this video and subscribing to TrueFlow Life. We're building a community here, dedicated to finding clarity and calm in a chaotic world, and I'd be honored to have you be a part of it. Thank you for sharing your time and your attention. Be kind to yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.